I wouldn't have asked this question out loud before. I was afraid of not being taken seriously. But then Jonas called me. His cat Finn had passed away 3 days earlier. And Jonas asked me something that I haven't been able to forget since. He asked, "Do you believe we will see each other again? Finn and me, somewhere, sometime?" I didn't answer right away. I didn't know what to say, and that was the truth. This question isn't a naive one. It is one of the deepest a human being can ask. Plato asked it, Schopenhauer, Carl Jung, and Jonas on a Wednesday evening in Hamburg. Today, I'm exploring this question with you, seriously, openly, without premature answers. What science really says, what ancient traditions know, what we do not know. The most honest thing one can say, we don't know for sure, but the clues are fascinating. Let's start with a man whose name is hardly known outside of the scientific community. Ian Stevenson, professor of psychiatry at the University of Virginia. He researched for 40 years. He collected over 3,000 case studies of children who remembered past lives. Not romantic fantasies, but concrete, verifiable information from foreign existences. Names of people the child couldn't possibly know in other cities, other countries. Houses, streets, family members that the child described before they could be verified. Circumstances of death from previous lives that matched birthmarks on the child's body. Stevenson's work appeared in peer-reviewed scientific journals, not in esoteric magazines. He worked methodically, skeptically, precisely. He wasn't a believer. He was a researcher. He himself wrote, "I prove nothing, but these cases deserve serious scientific attention." After Stevenson's death, Jim Tucker, also University of Virginia, directly continued the research. Tucker evaluated the database statistically and documented the strongest verified cases. The data shows a significant portion of these children's statements demonstrably match reality. This doesn't mean reincarnation is proven. It means the phenomenon is real and unexplained. And here, physics and philosophy intersect in an unexpected, interesting way. Roger Penrose, mathematician, Nobel laureate, one of the sharpest minds of the 20th century. And Stuart Hameroff, anesthesiologist and brain researcher specializing in consciousness. Together, they developed a theory that remains highly controversial to this day. Their thesis, consciousness arises in the microtubules of brain cells on a quantum mechanical level. Quantum mechanical here means possibly not entirely bound to the physical body. If consciousness is quantum physical in nature, it could exist beyond physical death. Penrose and Hameroff do not answer this question. They ask it. That is the crucial point. They don't come from esotericism. They come from mathematics and medicine. A third thinker who is important here, Bernard Kastrup, philosopher and computer scientist, Netherlands. Kastrup argues, the brain does not generate consciousness. The brain receives and filters consciousness. That sounds like an inversion, but his arguments are formally logical and academically published. If consciousness is more fundamental than the body, what does that mean for the soul? These aren't answers. These are questions that serious academics are asking seriously and publicly. I need to pause for a moment, because this is truly profound. We are not talking about blind hope or wishful thinking here. We are talking about academic research. And now comes the cultural dimension, which has occupied me most deeply from the start. All over the earth, in completely isolated cultures, people have believed the same thing for millennia. In Buddhism, reincarnation is not a romantic hope, it is a well-thought-out epistemology. The question is not if, but how. Which actions shape which next existence? Animals in Buddhism have the same consciousness as humans, just on a different path. In Hinduism, the Atman, the individual soul, is indestructible and cannot be annihilated. The body perishes, the self does not, and animals carry the exact same Atman within them as humans. In the Celtic tradition, there was a belief in the migration of souls through all forms of life. Life is a cycle, not a straight line. An end is just a curve, not a full stop. The Celtic druids wrote, "Death is only the middle of a long life, not its end." This phrasing, middle, not end, truly changed me when I first read it. Maybe a cat doesn't die at the end of her life. Maybe just at the end of this chapter. Among the Algonquin peoples of North America, the animal is considered a teacher and soul companion to humans. Not as a lesser being, as another being with the same spiritual dignity and the same path. 5 cultures, 5 millennia, 5 different paths to a very similar core idea. That is no coincidence. Something runs consistently through all these traditions. For the Lakota and other indigenous peoples, the separation between human and animal is artificial. All living beings share the same origin. What dies, returns in another form. For cultures, for continents, for millennia, and the same core idea, developed independently. This is not proof, but it is collective memory, and a very consistent memory at that. Now comes the part that moves me the most, the personal dimension of this question. For 2 years, Jonas greeted Finn every morning and petted him last thing every night. Finn was not decoration. Finn was a real presence. Finn was a bond lived daily. Then suddenly, this presence was no longer there, and Jonas asked the question that means everything. I asked him, what would change if you knew that you would see each other again? He said, I would fight less, against the absence, against the no longer being there. That hit me deep, because that shows what this question really is about. Not the search for proof, not religious dogma, but a different way of being with loss. After their cat's death, many people report a moment that is hard to describe. A warmth, a brief presence, a breath that feels different from all the others. Is that projection? Maybe. Is it more? We simply do not know. But it happens too often, too consistently, in too many different cultures, to be ignored. This question from the beginning now takes on a different, deeper, calmer shape within me. I cannot tell you, yes, Finn will come back. That would not be honest. I can tell you, the sharpest minds in this world have asked the exact same question. And not a single one of them answered it with a simple no. Not one. Not Stevenson, not Tucker, not Penrose, not Kastrup, and certainly not the ancient wisdom traditions. This is not proof. It is something else, the serious, academic holding open of an open question. And that is the most honest thing we can do in the face of something we do not know. What I can tell you, Jonas stopped fighting, not because he got answers, but because he stopped suppressing the question. That released something inside him. And if this question sits within you, then you have the right to ask it. I am not asking you for a decision now. I am not asking for an opinion or a belief. I am giving you just one single task for tonight. When you think of your cat, allow yourself to simply leave the question open. Without an answer, without judgment, just the quiet holding open of a question that is allowed to stay open. Because maybe we aren't looking for an answer. Maybe we are just looking for permission to ask. And you have that, today and forever, and without needing to apologize for it. Maybe Finn isn't gone. Maybe Finn is somewhere else. Maybe both at the same time. This question remains open, and that, I believe, is exactly the right place for it.